Well, hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to a very special episode, of course, because it is episode 100. Tricia, we made it
What?
to the big 100. How are you feeling about
I thought you were going to say we've made it to the big leagues now
that? Well,
because
yeah.
I think I read somewhere that like the average podcast does, I don't know, it's like 7 or 8 episodes and then they just quit.
hmm
So I think getting to triple digits, it has to be like put us into rare company, right?
I think so. Yeah, it's pretty epic to have reached 100 episodes. I think I mentioned in the last episode that it was the last episode, episode 99, was the 100th episode that we put out, but it's because the
Right.
episode that we did with Matt Berkey was split into two, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this officially would be the 101st episode, but it's episode 100, and yeah. So I'm super excited. Like can you remember the time when we first decided to do a podcast?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think either of us imagined that we would get to 100 episodes, right?
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure you were like, hey, we should do a podcast. And I was like, yeah, we should do a podcast. So this is all your fault that we even did it.
Yeah.
But right now, I feel like I should have a confetti cannon or something.
Yeah, I feel like
Just
we've
like
we've not
blow
really
it up.
marked the occasion as well as we could. I
No.
feel like we need some sort of air horn or something. So I'm not
Yes.
sure if in post production we can add that. If we just wait a few seconds of we just pause for a moment, then maybe the editor can add in some air horns or something. Okay, well, if that didn't work, then they'll just edit that out, so that's fine. But yeah, no,
Oh,
what is it? It's yeah. I think the great thing, I'm gonna uh blow our own trumpet here, so to speak. But the great
oh
thing about
yeah.
our podcast is that apart from the Berkey interview that we did and the one with Jordan as well,
Hmm.
we've done all the other episodes, so that must be 98 episodes.
Hmm.
Just me and you, like, giving some wisdom, throwing down
That's
some
right.
knowledge bombs, occasionally waffling and talking about dogs and the weather in Texas, which it's quite a polarizing topic often, but I think it's it's what makes it you, right? That you are from Texas, you do have dogs, so like let's make it real.
Hello. Hello. 3 beautiful golden retrievers, in case someone missed and doesn't know that. I don't feel like I've mentioned them in quite a long while. So
No, well that's true, and actually
they're still here.
yeah, I did. Somebody emailed in, and they actually written down. Just having a look here at the email, they said they've written down the number of times that Tricia mentions dogs in all 100 episodes. Do you know what the number is?
No, I have no idea.
604. I'm
No.
just kidding. The email doesn't really exist.
I'm
I'm
like,
just.
that's not true. That is not true. But somebody put it on the Twitter a couple days ago that they were thinking about getting a dog. And they were like, what kind of dog should I get? And I was like, golden retrievers for the win. Hello. Because it'll be like sunshine every day. And hey, just so I can keep it real, it's sunny here today in Texas. But yeah, I think if you're going to play poker, you need a dog. I mean, I guess you could have a cat or a hamster or whatever, but a dog is so great because they'll sit at your feet while you're playing. And I think that's so nice.
Yeah,
Don't you think?
that's pretty cool. I mean, this might come as a surprise, Tricia. I think I've told you before, but maybe our listeners don't know. I've never actually had a pet. I don't know what it's like to have a pet. We looked after the school guinea pig. Potentially, it
Mm.
was a guinea pig. Might have been a hamster or something else, like something small and furry that I looked after once. I think we looked after next door's rat as well, and it had these
Mm.
massive teeth, so we called it Fang.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
but yeah, I've never had a pet, and my girlfriend wants a dog, but
oh, yes.
yeah. So here's something. My girlfriend wants a dog. I'm kind of I go have a dog, whatever. I wouldn't have a dog. My mum doesn't like dogs at all.
What?
Right. So when she was younger, dog jumped into her pram, and then ever since then, she just like
She's
she
scared.
doesn't like them. Just really doesn't like
No.
them. So like, and my mum gets on well with my girlfriend, right? It's not like, the classic mother-in-law, so my girlfriend's like, oh yeah, yeah, we should definitely get a dog, and then your mum won't come to visit and stuff like that. Like it's not like that. They get on really well. But if we did get a dog, then I just don't think that she would come. Like it's yeah, it's a shame, but yeah,
I think she would. I
she
do, because it would be like
yeah.
her grandpuppy.
Tricia, she just doesn't like dogs. Like she won't see it as a grandpuppy. She'll see it as like a horrible thing in the corner of the room.
Like, oh, what are y'all gonna adopt Cujo? Like, come on.
Yeah.
You get a sweet little puppy, and yeah, they're just like the best. Especially, I think when you're playing poker and doing hard things, it is so nice to have the stress reliever of a sweet little puppy. And there is some research on that too, by the way. So it's not just me making it up. There's actual psychological research and medical research that shows that, like, when you're petting your pupperoonie, and I suppose it's true for a cat too, but I think most of the research has been done with dogs, it lowers your blood pressure and your heart rate. So that's all good things.
Well, there you go, guys. Get
There
yourself a
you
dog.
go. That's your psychological tip for the day. Get a dog,
Great.
maybe three. I
Great.
don't know.
That's
Well,
great.
if y'all want to borrow a dog, I have an assortment catalog you can borrow.
Brilliant stuff. So,
Speaking of stress from poker, what have you been doing at the poker tables lately?
well, I didn't play much poker in February. I played the home games as part of my group coaching program. So, on a Monday, we have a webinar that I lead and teach. And then after that, we have a home game. We have a Zoom call. And it's just like a normal home game. Like people get on the
Yeah.
beers and, you can have other beverages if you want. But just having a good time. And we started to do webcams. So it's much harder with the whole poker face. And,
Right.
rather than like, you normally just play with audio and you're chatting to people, suddenly like you've got your webcam on you, and some people don't have a webcam, or they say they don't have a webcam, so they're at a massive advantage because they can just be literally like, oh, I've got aces like this, whereas the rest of us are like,
Right.
this is my poker face for anyone watching the video right now. If you're listening to the podcast, that's probably not very good podcasting.
I will
We'll move
interject. That is
on.
one good thing about the masks in coronavirus times, right? If you're wearing a mask at the poker table, it really does hide a lot. Especially like you got a mask, you got your sunglasses, you
That's
got a
true.
hat on. It's like
Yeah.
you're a mummy or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, go on with your story.
Yep. So I haven't really played much poker, although last Thursday, I said I was trying to take Fridays off. I think that might have been in the last episode. So I tried to take Fridays off. So I thought, oh, Thursday night. Do you know what? I'm gonna play a session. So I
Fire up the old computer.
played a small session. I had fun, and dipped my toe in the wonderful world of tournament poker.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, I mean, nothing to write home about. No real runs, but just played a few tournaments. And what was really nice is to not play too many. Like before I was playing like
Yeah.
10 to 12 tables. I played like 4 tables at a time. I was just really enjoying it, really enjoying like going really deep into hands and thinking them through. And yeah, I think it was great. So I'm making sure that I'm still playing and keeping abreast of the world of tournament poker and seeing what's going on. But yeah, I'm not playing as much. I'm doing lots of content and the course and my group coaching
Hmm.
program, and I've taken on a few new students, like private students as well. So I've just been super busy with that and really enjoying it, and really, to see progress that you're sort of facilitating and helping is amazing. We talked about it, before, like, what do you get, like enjoyment, satisfaction, and happiness from, like, seeing people grow, seeing people learn, seeing people, get difficult concepts that right at the start they would never have got. Like, it's just, yeah, it's amazing. So I'm really enjoying that aspect of it. And I don't know what the future holds, like whether or not I just become like a full-time coach. Probably
Hmm.
not. But I really enjoy it. I really enjoy helping people and working with people. So, you never know. And I might reach a point where I have so many students slash clients that I end up doing that, and then just making sure I go to Vegas every year and play Scoop and play W Coop. And obviously, like, Scoop's coming up. So normally
Hmm.
normally Scoop is in like May time. We usually have
Yeah.
Scoop for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then straight into the World Series.
Yeah.
Well, this year Scoop is in April,
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, we've got that to look forward to. So I'm sure we'll be. Yeah, I mean, there's no way I'm not going to be playing during Scoop. I don't think I'll be going as ham, as they say, not as crazy during Scoop as I did say in W Coop when I think I played, I don't know, 13 out of 16 days. So yeah, but we'll see.
Now that was
You know,
going ham.
yeah. So we'll see. And someone said this, I think it was about like the whole idea of this guilt thing, feeling guilty for, when
Hmm.
you're playing, you feel guilty for not working on the business. When you're playing, or you might feel guilty for not spending time with your partner or your kids or whatever. And then when
Yeah.
you're working on the business, you feel guilty for the other things going on in your life. And when you do the other thing, you feel guilty, and so on and so forth. And somebody said it to me, and he said, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. He said, the the fact that you can now choose what to do with your time is such a blessing, right?
Hmm.
So fortunate. Always
So fortunate. Yeah.
encourage you to be grateful for what you've got, and to show gratitude every day. And sometimes it can be, just for the little things, like, seeing the sunrise, or getting some fresh
Hmm.
air, going outside, like what, the small things that people take for granted. And yeah, I am super lucky, right? Maybe not so much at the poker table in my last session, but that's that's but in life, like, to be able to choose what I do with my time now is a blessing. And I think that if you can get to that point as well, like, that you, as in everyone else listening, then I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's that should be, I almost feel like that's where people want to get to, right? Where they get to choose what they do with their time. And there's no, like, if you don't want to play poker, don't play poker. If you don't want to coach, don't coach. Or if you do want to play poker, definitely play. If you want to coach, you should coach. If you want to go and do a hobby, you want to learn a musical instrument, you want to go and play sport, you want to go traveling, yeah, like, how amazing that we get to
Oh,
do that.
freedom is like the ultimate thing,
Yeah.
You're kind of making me think. A few days ago, I had to do something I really didn't want to do. Taxes in the old good old USA, right? So, but I did a little something that I thought you might find kind of fun. So in psychology, we talk about something called temptation bundling, and but it's basically the idea that you have something that you like to do, but you pair it with something that you don't want to do. So when you're doing this thing that you don't want to do, that's when you get like the prize, right?
Yeah.
So when you're doing taxes, you have to get together all the receipts and calculate up the numbers. I don't know. I just don't find it very like pleasant. I find it like extremely tedious. Ugh. So I did this temptation bundling, and I got on Yale Global Poker, and I fired up. Now, guys, it was only play money. Okay. So it wasn't like I was playing the high dollars while I was doing my taxes. But I fired up some sit and goes. And yeah, I played these play money sit and goes. And while I was doing my taxes. And it was so, I mean, it was fun. And it was funny too. Because I haven't played sit and goes in a hot minute, but I used to play a lot of sit and goes,
Yeah.
a long time ago when I was on full tilt. I played sit and goes all the time because I worked a full-time job, and like I was more in the learning phase of poker in those days, and right, and so sit and goes were like a really good thing to do. But anyway, I got on there, and yeah, I did my taxes, I played my sit and goes. I am happy to report that I took first place in all the sit and goes that I played, and I have, like, I don't know, some ridiculous number of these play money coin things. That's what they give you on there. I don't even know what it is, like 1.5 million or something crazy, which will get me absolutely nothing anywhere anytime. But I thought you might think that was kind of funny that I did some temptation bundling.
No, but that's great. You still got it as well. You haven't played much
Oh
poker
yeah, we
recently,
have
so still got it. Can still
when
crush
it
play money sit and goes.
right.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
It's
great.
just I was like, but what's interesting is, yeah, I haven't had a chance to play that much lately, and just getting back in there, clicking those buttons, it just fires me up, right? I
Well,
gotta
yeah, I
gotta
mean,
get back going.
so part of the reason why I wanted to play on, say, a Thursday, and then I'd have the Friday off, just to chill, was to make sure that I wasn't really rusty when it came to Scoop,
Yeah.
right? Because, like, it's amazing how you you can learn lots. But unless you're doing the repetition, you're getting the reps in all the
Yeah,
time. Like
yeah.
you don't. You need to do basically. You need to put in the reps in order to make sure that you're up to speed. So if you were injured, for example, and didn't get to go to the gym, then you would need to go like take it steady and get back into the swing of things. When you went back to the gym, you couldn't expect to bench press as much, or you couldn't expect to do as many bicep curls or whatever it is that you do when you do resistance training at the gym. So yeah, I think it's really important to keep those reps going. Whenever I work with students, I always encourage them that they need to be doing work off the table. But like, there's no point doing that unless you're going to be putting the reps in at the table as well. Like, you need to apply this, and you need to get yourself into situations where you don't know what to do, and so you're going to learn from it. And definitely work hard off the table, but make sure you're putting the reps in on the table as well.
I think that's very good advice. In my particular case, it wasn't very difficult. I could do my taxes and click a button here or there. And yeah, the people who are playing these low level play money, sit and goes, it wasn't Fader Holes, that I was against, or even Gareth James. Okay.
Well, no,
I don't know what these people were doing.
It was Tricia Cardner.
And
bang, bang.
Bang bang. I don't know what these people were doing though. I was like, it was good to see though that, I don't know how, like, would these people ever play, in a real money situation? I have no idea. Maybe they were doing their taxes too, for all I know. And
well, yeah.
Yeah. There were some very creative lines taken. That's all I will say.
Yeah, that's that's good to know that you're playing and getting some temptation.
Oh yeah, I'm getting that street cred back.
Yeah, doing your taxes is not a great thing. Like, it's but tell you what is great is going through hands, and I have been sent in a hand. It just came through Discord actually to me, and it's from username RW. So that's all we've got.
It's like a mystery, man or
bit.
woman.
Wonder, are there any poker players whose initials are RW? Just leave that with you. Just leave that lingering in the air. So let's have a look at this. So RW Hero then, so we'll call him Hero from now on, is in the small blind with 31.1 big blinds. And the villain in the hand is in, let me just check this, Under the Gun. So Under the Gun has 26.8 big blinds. Hero's in the small blind with 31.1. They're the only stacks that really matter, because Under the Gun min raises, and Hero is in the small blind with pocket twos, 2 of hearts, 2 of diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
And they call, big blind folds, and the flop comes the Jack of hearts, Jack of diamonds, 6 of spades. Hero checks, and villain bets 1.96 bigs into 6.35. So just, I don't know, about 30%-ish, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And Hero calls, which I think is already quite an interesting point, because let's just talk about the flop call, because the rest of the hand is, the turn is the Queen of Diamonds and goes check check, and then the river is the Deuce of Spades, and Hero jams and villain folds, right? So there are 2 things to think about here. One is the flop play, and one is the river. So you obviously got to consider the turn when you're trying to work out what you want to do on the river. But yeah, I think, I don't know, what do you think, Tricia, on the flop? Pocket twos on a Jack 6 board, small blind versus Under the Gun for roughly 26 bigs effective.
I want to dial back to pre-flop, actually.
Okay.
So when Under the Gun raises, right, I guess, our submitter here, RW, he didn't give you any information about this player, the range, whatever, right? So
just the Under the Gun player open.
We put this guy. Okay. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I think that, people make a lot of mistakes out of the small blind, right? The small blind's probably the trickiest spot to play. And so I wanted to get your feedback on as played pre-flop at this stack depth. Do you think the calling is the best option?
Yes.
Okay.
Next question. No, okay. So yeah, I think it's a great question. I think the tournament with antes, we're still getting a pretty good price to flat from the small blind. The biggest problem we have is that we very rarely have a hand that can call if the big blind jams.
Right. We're really in this situation screwed if that happens, right?
Yeah. So maybe a really competent big blind is going to be able to squeeze jam wider. That you just don't see that often enough. And also they still got to get through the under the gun razor, even though they think, okay, the small blind's never going to have a hand here to call for 30 big blinds. They still got to get through the under the gun open, which is going to be somewhat strong, I would say.
I would say so.
But I think that overall population won't squeeze jam wide enough from the big blind. I mean, at equilibrium, I think that twos is a fine call anyway, but even more so when the big blind's not going to go too crazy. And therefore you're going to, you see a multi-way pot and, okay, it's going to hurt you with pocket twos when you don't flop anything. But when you do, you have, twice as much chance that someone else has, hit something that you can, potentially win a big pot off.
I like that because when you're saying, big blind is not going to be going crazy there very much, it makes me think like, oh, well, if I'm in the big blind, I should definitely have it in my mind that I should be looking for spots to do something like that with, right? If people are not doing it, then it's something I should definitely consider doing.
Yeah. And it's about looking for the right sorts of hands. So I think sometimes players will see like pocket threes and fours and they'll go for a squeeze jam there, and it's like, whoa, no, that's not the right kind of hand, because you got to think about, okay, the under the gun player, or even the small blind, if they, the small blind can still have a hand like pocket eights or sevens that could just decide, okay, I'm going to go for it. Would you sooner, against a range that includes pairs and big ace X hands, for example, that calls, would you sooner have pocket threes or a hand like king queen suited or king jack suited, right? You'd sooner have the bigger cards, because at least then if you do get, let's say you got king jack suited, you get called by tens, nines, or eights, well, at least you're flipping. Whereas with threes, you're just in terrible shape.
You're just screwed.
So I think that's something to look at, but that's it's probably why players don't do it. They look down at king jack suited and they're like, oh yeah, do you know what, I'm just going to call here, like it looks like a nice spot to call, like it's only one extra big blind. Let's see a flop first, let's see a flop and we'll go from there. But actually I think there's lots of good opportunities to squeeze jam in that in those spots.
I agree,
even against under the gun opening as well. So I don't know. Go ahead.
I feel like on the flop, I feel like I heard you talking not exactly about this board, but a similar board where when you've got those paired boards like that, and then the initial or the aggressor should be c-betting like all of them, right?
Yeah.
So is that the line you're gonna pretty much go down, or the road you're gonna go down?
Well, under the gun is going to be c-betting very frequently on this board,
right? Yeah. Right. And so he's c-betting very frequently, and then it's over to the small blind. And I feel like this is where you are going to have some thoughts about what he did with the twos.
This situation, so under the gun versus small blind, very different from under the gun versus big blind.
Yeah.
But lots of the same principles apply. And just the in-position player is going to probably have slightly more Jack X as a proportion of their range, but probably not by much, because remember, it's under the gun versus small blind, not under the gun versus the big blind. Now the big blind is going to have a higher proportion of trips here, a higher number of trips, but not necessarily proportion, right? Because their range is so much wider, they're flatting a super wide range, whereas small blind is a lot more condensed. So there are fewer hands in there in the first place. But I do think, under the gun, we'll just go for a small c-bet very, very frequently. The problem with pocket twos here, that you're playing out of position. You have a hand that's, you have very little visibility on the turn. Like I'm
Yeah.
reluctant to use the term like to know where you're at, right? But it just like fills me with like it just makes me shudder. Like I just don't like it at all.
But I
But I
mean, unless
think
it's exactly a two, you really have no idea, is what
yeah,
I think
you
you're
can't really
going
like
after.
you can't you're really hoping that the turn goes check check and the river goes check check and you
Yep.
win against ace high. That's
Yep.
basically what the hope is, and playing poker with hope is probably not the way to win. So yeah, there's I mean every card in the deck is going to be an overcard. When you've got pocket twos, your risk
So,
of being counterfeit as well with a six on the turn.
yeah.
So it's really not a very good situation. Now I'm not saying that you should necessarily fold, but I don't think calling's the best option. I think maybe going for a check raise here um,
Mm-hmm.
is reasonable. Like you're going to have some jack X here. Like it's not like you would call your jack X and then when you raise you never have anything. Like you should be raising your jack X here, and I think you should be raising pretty
Mm-hmm.
aggressively. Now, given anytime it's a paired board and your opponent's supposed to bet close to their entire range, or they do bet their entire range, then you should be check raising. I think quite aggressively. I think this is one of those spots where you don't have too many calls. You just have more raises. Obviously, you have some hands that you call, but I think twos is like, to be honest, like I've not run it, but I think that twos is probably the kind of hand that it doesn't really matter what you do. It's probably not going to make
Mm-hmm.
much money. So if you fold, it's fine. If you call, it's fine. If you raise, it's fine. And I know that's not like, okay, wow, like I'm really glad I
It's all
tuned
fine.
into this
Brilliant.
podcast because like you can just basically do what you want. But I think that I think that's basically what's going on here. And yeah, so I don't mind that. I don't mind the call. It's probably just not making that much money. And you think about logically, you think about, okay, what kind of turns can you continue versus a double barrel? Well, not really that many.
Yeah.
And sometimes you will have to bluff the river, right? You're going to have to pull the trigger on the river. Now, in this exact hand, so just a reminder, the flop was Jack Jack 6. We're playing 26 big blinds effective, under the gun versus small blind. Heroes in the small blind with pocket twos. Jack Jack 6 rainbow. The villain bets about 30% pot and hero calls. The turn is the queen of diamonds, so it's now six of spades, jack of diamonds, jack of hearts, queen of diamonds, and it goes check check. And then the river is the amazing two of spades, and now we have a decision as to what on earth we should do now that we've actually landed on this river
Mm-hmm.
um, with a full house. So hero went ahead and jammed for it looks like I'm trying to work this out because the hand history, the hero has more chips than the villain, so they're
Yeah.
shoving for 27 bigs. But I think I'm just trying to work this out. 1 second. Must be like 22 big. So basically shoving for like 2x, 2.2, 2.3x pot, something like that. What do you think about that line, Tricia?
Hmm. I don't know. I don't think it would be a line I would choose, but you tell us.
Well,
I don't.
I mean,
You're not doing this.
I'm not doing this?
No.
Okay, why do you think that?
I can tell by the gleam in your eye.
Well,
I can tell by the smirk on your face.
my favorite thing is to see where solvers, when you land on the river
Hmm.
and hit a miracle card, what it
Yeah.
does with those kind of hands. And very, very often the solver will just love a jam here. Like it
Hmm.
absolutely would love it because it's just like, what do you have? Like you don't have pocket twos. Like, so what do you have? You basically have a jack or you have nothing. On this kind of board, like, how often do you float the flop with something that you end up bluffing with?
With
But also
twos.
like it's like you I don't think you have anything, but then I can't really work out what you're bluffing. And then all of a sudden you put your opponent into a spot where they're like, I don't actually know what I'm supposed to do. So like I don't think that the villain in this hand, or most villains, are going to always bet when they improve on a queen, right? So they're going to look at the board and think,
Hmm.
okay, well, my opponent could have some jack X. Not really, if I bet now, what am I actually going to get value from? If I bet, this queen turn, I'm just going to get worse hands to fold and potentially better hands to call. So like it doesn't really make too much sense. So I think that for sure, villain could check back some queen X hands here. And then what I love about the jam here is that you can actually just put your opponent in, in the cage, so to speak. Like it's a really horrible spot for them. Whatever they have, they could have a pair like between the jack and the six, so like sevens through tens,
Mm-hmm.
and they could have ace high, and it's like, but it's one of those really, it's the kind of spot where you could definitely level your opponent by jamming. And again, I haven't run it, so I don't know for sure about what the solver would do, but I do think that in situations like this, we probably do want to be jamming, a
But as a
reasonable amount.
practical matter, from a live standpoint, it's like what I'm really thinking about. Like in a live standpoint, is somebody really gonna take this line here? And if they do, I mean, but to your point, it's correct, because if I'm in a live setting and someone just like rips 2x on the river like that, I think I am going to be like, what the hell? Like, what are they doing this with? So I think your point is very valid,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
It's just not something I've seen a lot in the live arena.
yeah,
So definitely I would be like, what the hell? But but
yeah.
you just don't see it that much.
Yeah, so like on the one hand, you might think, okay, but I mean, what do you bluff in this spot? Like, are you
Mm-hmm.
really floating the flop with like a backdoor flush draw? I mean, I think you should. Like the backdoor
Mm-hmm.
nut flush
Yeah.
draws, of which there are three because the flop was
Mm-hmm.
rainbow, right?
Yeah, it's rainbow.
So then, like, okay, well, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna jam the river now, with some of these hands, and try and get better hands to fold. I think it's reasonable. I think that the average player though is just going to be like, on the one hand, like, what bluffs do you have? But then on the other hand, like, you only ever have a jack. Like that's the only. I mean, I guess like pocket sixes, the small blind or flat pocket sixes. So you have trips or better, and no
Mm-hmm.
bluffs. But then they might just be like, it's so difficult to make a really strong hand. And also, if you had a really strong hand, why would you jam 2x pot with it
Mm-hmm.
in a spot where villain's gone for a check back on the turn? So yeah, I actually really like the jam here. I feel like, you know if you block too much of the board, let's say you had a hand like Queen Jack, you should
Mm-hmm.
probably not jam. You should go
Yeah.
for a smaller bet, because really when you jam, you're really just looking to get a bluff catch from like a queen, or maybe they've checked back the turn with aces or kings or something like that, or maybe you get a hero call from like an ace six type of hand. I'm stretching a little bit here, but you know I think that there's a chance that can happen, and by having pocket twos, you completely unblock everything, right? So there's a higher chance that somebody has something to be able to call here. I don't think under the gun's going to be opening ace deuce, so that's kind of not relevant, blocking too much of that. So yeah, we don't block a queen, like he's not opening queen deuce, for example, and we don't block aces and kings, and also we put sevens through tens in a pretty horrible spot as well, and they're probably, I mean, I don't know, maybe they're supposed to be indifferent on the river, to call. So anytime that you land on the river with a very, very disguised hand, and your opponent at best probably has a bluff catcher, then yeah, you should look to employ, pull out the big boy and go for the 2.2x jam.
So are you telling me that you're at the Planet Hollywood playing in the famous series, as you did very well in, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, right? Are you going to employ this tip? You land on the river with a disguised hand, and they have a bluff catcher, most of the time in your estimation. Are you going to rip it 2.2 out of the
Yeah,
small blind, you reckon?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Mainly because
Maybe.
no,
No, no.
yeah,
Okay, not
no, I
maybe.
am. No, no.
Okay.
I
Okay,
would I
okay.
would jam here. I think I'm blocking. I mean, the amazing thing is, like, I don't think they should, but like they could just check back a jack as well, right? So they still have some jack X to
Hmm.
call, and like, if you bet the river big, they might just call. Like, they might think, oh, I never
Hmm.
get called by worse when I jam. Whereas when you jam, well, then suddenly you put them in a spot where they have to call it off. There's
Well,
no
and I guess
no one
too.
no one in Planet Hollywood or anywhere in the world is folding a jack on this
Yeah,
river
yeah,
if
for
I jam
sure,
for
for sure.
2.2x
Yeah,
pot.
you're right about that. But I'm thinking too, like, you put them in the tough spot, right? And that's where they make the mistakes. If we never put them in a tough spot, they never have an opportunity to make the mistake.
Yeah, you got it.
And that's really how we make the money.
Yeah, when you think about it, like let's say that they have a bluff catcher and they fold it, well then like okay, we didn't get value that time, but you know, if we were bluffing, we just made a ridiculous
right.
amount
We
of
made a
money
ridiculous
from a hand that we really
right.
shouldn't have done. Like, you know, if he's calling at the right frequency, you know, we make a profitable play, but suddenly if they start folding all their bluff catchers, well then now we're just making, you know, a huge amount of money. So yeah, it goes from like, you know, just about plus EV to being like super plus EV. And also like similarly, if we can level our opponent, and like you said, like I really like the way you put it, like if you can put your opponent in a spot where they're not familiar with it, where they might be more uncomfortable, then there's more opportunity for them to make a mistake, and that's what we want.
You know what else I think is interesting? Like I'm putting my own self, you know, in the spot at the Planet Hollywood or wherever, right? And I'm thinking, okay, if I rip it on the river like this, oh my God, these people are going to be folding so fast, unless they have a jack, like you said. So like it would almost behoove me to look with my actual bluffs for spots where I could do this, because they're going to fold to me at such a high frequency, because they're like, seriously, is she seriously right? Because people hold very strong opinions about certain player types. So I'm gonna put that.
Oh yeah, you definitely need to be ripping
in my noodle.
ripping to a spot on the river more frequently, Tricia.
Yeah. Thank you, Gareth.
Yeah. Oh, but it's a fun hand to
very interesting
to go through, and some things to think about. Like I said, like the flop is kind of like, you know, you could probably do all three things. It'd be fine.
Yeah.
Fold, call, or raise. But once you actually hit the miracle river, I think going for it all very frequently is probably the way to go. We did talk obviously about like somebody, you know, going for a check back and being somewhat capped. It's probably worth talking about that. But I think they're not necessarily capped, right? Because like there is a chance that they do check back some very, very strong hands. Like, I mean, I wonder if they do check back a queen jack, for example, just blocking way too many hands. Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like most of the time when they go for a check back here, it's because they've got some sort of showdown value and they're worried that you have a jack
too.
or better. So yeah, I think that if you work that out, then I think that going for the big bet on the river and putting them in the cage and putting them in a spot where they can make a mistake, either by folding too much and then your bluffs start making more money, or calling too much and all your value bets start making money, then yeah, that's great.
It looks all good for us.
Absolutely.
Well done, RW.
Yeah, I think it was pretty well played hand, and thanks for sending that one in.
That was very interesting.
Well, let's wrap things up there, Tricia. Before we go, where can people find you?
You can come to my Facebook group, the Poker Mindset Mastery Lab. It's a free group. You just have to answer a few questions to join up. And that's a really good way to keep abreast of everything that I have going on, including, you know, I've got new things coming down the pike. Well, actually, by the time you guys see this, you can come and get the 10-minute tilt cure, but, you know, everybody needs that, right? And, but yeah, if you go in the Facebook group, you're going to know everything that's going on. How about you, Gareth? Where can people hunt you down?
So yeah, just you can join my Facebook group as well. It's called MTT Strategies and Systems to Win, and we'll put the link in the description and the show notes. So whether you're watching the podcast or listening on your favorite podcast app, you'll be able to access the links to both of our Facebook groups.
Absolutely. Amazing stuff. Thanks for teaching us what we need to do to own these people and put them in the cage.
Well, I mean, it's a great way to wrap up the 100th episode with a 2.2x overbet jam on the river with a full house. So yeah, I think we can wrap things up there. But no, thanks Tricia for being here for 100 episodes and agreeing a few years ago to start making this podcast. We've definitely we've definitely done well to like start doing one every week, and we've got to the 100th episode a lot quicker. I think when we were doing it like once every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, like I think we were looking at a 100th episode in 2000 and never, but we we got to our 100th episode in March 2021, so super excited about that. And but yeah, thanks to you. Obviously, great co-host, and yeah, who would have thought we start a podcast and then write a book and then end up doing 100 episodes? It's great.
Obviously, we're a dynamic duo.
Indeed, yeah.
Well, the pleasure has been all mine. Especially going through this pandemic and still being able to talk, some about poker and even though I'm mostly a live player, everybody knows that. So the kibosh has been put on this. But yeah, just being able to, get some instruction from you and hear about the hands and everything. It is a way to, stay involved in the game. So that is really fantastic for me. So
that's great.
Selfishly, I'm so happy that we're here today and we're going to keep on going.
Absolutely. Here's to the 200th episode.
Oh my goodness.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay. Well, yeah. Everyone else out there, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in to this very special 100th episode. And until the next one, take care and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.